the green room.
Boom, boom.
All right. Well, we can't always
see that things haven't changed, Rob.
Yeah. We can't always, but we can't all be as funny as Adam. That's just how it is. All right. Good morning, everyone. Once again, good day, good afternoon, and welcome to the digital download, which is, that's my line, the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live. This week, we have a great topic for you with one, maybe two guests to help us examine it. Cybersecurity is a major concern these days. Adding significantly to the problem is a lack of diversity in the field. We'll explore exactly why that's a problem and what we can do about it. As we explore this, we'll ask questions like, well, of course, why is lack of diversity in cybersecurity dangerous? What qualifications does one need to work in cybersecurity? And how can we do more to encourage people of all backgrounds to work in cybersecurity? We strive to make the digital download an interactive experience. Audience participation is highly encouraged.
Yes.
So what we'll ask you to do right now is go invite a friend, bring them along to this conversation. We'll wait.
It's also useful for if they're watching now to type in and say where they're from or just say hello, or it's always good to see where the audience is.
Or where they're going on holiday.
Yeah, where they're going, where they've come back from holiday.
If it's raining or
that,
sunny.
Yeah. While they're doing that, let's do some introductions here as well. So we'll go around the horn. Tracy, would you kick us off, please?
Yes, thank you, Rob. Good morning, everyone. I am Tracy Borson, founder of TLB Coaching and Events, and a very excited, I always feel like I should come up with this in advance, excitedly pumped partner of DLA.
Excellent. Thank you. Alex.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Alex Abbott, founder of Sapiro. As you see, it says Sapiro Social Selling today on my name tag there. I'm also a proud, I don't know if you said proud, Tracy, but I'm a proud DLA partner.
Not that I'm not proud, just to
No. Was that painful, Tim, me saying I was a proud partner of yours?
No. I was thinking of I'm taking my ring off.
Oh,
and I'm because sometimes you need to sort of like scratch behind it and stuff like that, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
If people feel the need to do that anytime, please put a comment in and support.
Yeah. Riveting.
And the 12-hour flight, I guess, is kind of swollen your fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Welcome, Alex. And Tim.
Yes, I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. I'm actually officially on holiday today, and I've actually had some chocolates to keep me to try and keep me awake. I'm still on. I'm on Tracy's time.
Well, she's here and she's wide awake,
and I'm desperately trying to.
But I just woke up,
trying to stay awake. I've just for those that don't know, I've just come back from a 2,500 mile tour of Alaska and the Yukon. Whereas that brag is very humble. We actually then as we came into Heathrow yesterday, we came back. BA lost our baggage, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, who needs baggage of dirty clothes? We then went back to Heathrow and picked up my partner's son, who's just done 2,500 miles solo cycle ride around Europe and the Nordics. So our drive is like nothing because he's just ridden that on his bike.
Wow.
And with that, Tim.
Yeah.
Still need an introduction from you.
I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite, and I know something about cybersecurity. We just implemented a cybersecurity company just transformed them to social selling. So
Awesome.
I'm interviewing the CEO on pen testing and why pen testing is really important. Pen testing is setting up and running, basically doing a cyber attack, doing a cyber attack on your company and seeing what happens. And I'm interviewing him on Wednesday of this week on my Tim Talk podcast.
Excellent. All right. And myself, I am Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results, and I too am a proud DLA Ignite partner. So this morning we are, or I'm sorry, I forget that we are still worldwide. This afternoon, we are joined by possibly two guests. We have one in the studio waiting for us. Andrew
In the green
Rice.
room.
In the green room, right. With over 25, back to the joke. Okay, thanks. With over 25 years in cybersecurity, you can blame Andrew for the world's first successful phishing attack and creating defenses for it. He is passionate about developing people and driving inclusion and diversity in cybersecurity. Would you all please welcome Andrew Rice?
Welcome, Andrew.
So I said, no, in the green room.
Excellent.
Thank you for the introduction. Now, it's wonderful to be here with such passionate people who are actually rocking this world. It is a subject I'm passionate about. I've been working in cybersecurity for nearly 30 years now. I'm touching 60 next year, so ready to party for that one. And have a lot of fun in what I've been doing. And it's great to see people sitting in their gardens today, because that's part of the reason I'm talking about the diversity and inclusion, is enabling people to be able to work from wherever they are. Whether that's single mums working from their home with their kids in the background, if we can be more flexible in the way we work, we can help grow that diversity and inclusion into our community. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation today. Great to meet you all there, and great to see all the people that are waiting with their messages. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. Nice to hear from you.
Here. And just you might just pop that Jackie's note back up there, Rob, because this is a topic close to my heart, actually. Not necessarily the cyber security aspect, but certainly diversity. So in case you see the similarity with the surname, Jackie's my wife, and she is working in the garden, but she's also running a sales academy for women, empowering women to re-enter the workplace. So perhaps we can talk about that at some point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, we were hoping to have Jane on the talk with us today. Unfortunately, she's had a conflict and can't make it. So, yeah, I noticed there's a lot of us are white, elderly male, but we do have Tracy there as well, yes, helping us out with our diversity and inclusion.
You know, Andrew, honestly, I'm glad you brought that up, because we have talked about diversity on this show on more than one occasion. And sometimes we've been called out. Well, what do a bunch of old white men, gray-haired and all, know about diversity? The truth is, maybe nothing. But if you don't want us to have those conversations when diversity isn't necessarily represented, how are we ever going to have them when diversity is represented? It gets at me, as maybe you can tell. I am sorry that the board isn't looking like a rainbow right now. But I think the conversation is more important than any one individual. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And most importantly, I appreciate that you're being a champion for this and you're willing to come here and share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of my reasons for doing this and talking about this a lot. I have come through the ranks in cybersecurity, and a lot of it came from people like myself who were very technical people, very interested in the subject, liked to play with security and fell into the field that way. And there was a very sort of narrow view of what cybersecurity could deliver in those early days and as coming through this. But the team I've been working with recently at Vonage, they could not be much more diverse than they were. We had Pakistani, we had Polish people, we had Italians, we had people from India all around the world working together. And the reason that you need that sort of diversity is if you look at the challenges in cybersecurity, no matter which country you operate in, you are being targeted by the world. You can't have more diverse set of hackers attacking you. And if all you've got is people like myself thinking and working on this subject, you're going to have a fairly narrow, blinkered view of what's going on. The beauty of having that sort of diversity and inclusion around you is that you get different ideas, different ways of thinking. If in some countries, for example, copyright doesn't exist, and also you've got countries that protect the hackers because they're generating revenue for that country. It's a completely different way of thinking to the way you would think on your own. So it is absolutely vital to us that we have that diverse ways of thinking brought into the fold.
That rolls right into the first question that I had for you. So why is a lack of diversity in cybersecurity actually considered dangerous?
I think it's very dangerous to have that lack of diversity. If you look at the way the attackers are working today, they are using all sorts of tools like Worm GPT. They've got better at attacking us, and they don't care about how the board looks. They care about their revenue streams. They are running this as a business, and it is a global business for them. And they have teams that are sitting in lots of countries around the world with lots of different ways of thinking, and they are all looking for that little chink in the armor. And if they can get a hook in that looks different from what you've expected and prepared for, they're going to do it. And they'll be ahead of the game. And so we need to be ahead of the game by having that broad church of thinking, addressing the problems, and trying to attack us from those different perspectives and different points of view and different ways of thinking. If you think about hacktivists around the world, we see collateral damage happening. For example, in the whaling season, I was working for a company called Hitachi Capital Finance, who had absolutely nothing to do with whaling whatsoever. But because it was a Japanese company, whenever that season arrived, the hacktivists would be out there and we would become collateral damage. So we had to have that different ways of thinking to ensure that we thought about different aspects of how and why, and why people would be attacking our organizations.
When you talk about sort of the global threat, Andrew, we had a guest on last week, an AI specialist, Lee Gall, and we sort of got onto the topic of ethics, and then we got onto the topic of AI being that dangerous in the future that we should consider having, global treaties signed to protect us. You talk about cyber attacks and how much of it is AI. Is it all AI, or is it,
I think it's definitely not all AI. We're still seeing the script kiddies who are running programs that are sitting in the background. We're seeing organized crime with their existing methods, and then we're seeing governments who have got serious capabilities, and they're continuing to. I once built a Windows 95 machine directly connected to the internet just to see what would happen. And before the operating system had been built, it was already compromised. So it's like, it is 24/7 out there from everywhere across the planet. But that sort of felt like a baiting line. I would say at the moment, I'm guessing around 80% is your conventional attacks. But what we're seeing more of is people taking advantage of these AI tools and adapting them to their capabilities. We're seeing better phishing attacks. One of the best ones recently was a deep fake, which was Martin Lewis and Elon Musk. And it was so realistic that even Martin would be difficult to say, that's not my video. That's not me. Because the facial expressions, the lip movements, eye movements, even just general sort of moving their body and the head around to the flow of the conversation.
My father-in-law must have been every time he visited, every single week, he's like, you've got to watch this. You've got to get into this. They're making hundreds, thousands of pounds. And it just seemed too good to be true. So we obviously didn't.
Andrew, that's the second time so far this episode, the term phishing attack has come up. I'm presuming everyone knows what that means, and that's, what happens when you assume. Can you tell us what you mean by a phishing attack? And phishing, by the way, is not spelled with an F, is it?
It's a PH. It's for fish. And basically what it is, it started off with a broad email that would go out to almost everybody, trying to get you to click on a link. And often it would pretend to be from part of your organization or from a trusted third party. It may be something, it comes to you from Facebook saying, oh, your account's being compromised, you need to do this. It could come from your bank, it pretends to be one of those. And it would come to almost a generic person. They go through a whole list of email addresses that are bought in a database and just keep on hitting every single to try and get somebody to click that link. And once they click that link, they would down malware onto their machine. It could down ransomware, all those sort of things to try and get onto your system and then get access to your bank accounts or finance systems, or to carry out an action which would transfer money to the criminal organization. And then they got more clever and started doing spear phishing, which is where they would target a specific individual in the company, often somebody like the PA to the chief financial officer, pretending to be the chief executive officer, saying, I need these funds today because I'm about to close this deal. And because the urgency was built into it and it looked legitimate, people were more likely to do it. And now they're using artificial intelligence to craft those spear phishing emails, those highly targeted emails. And as I say, coming back to the diversity side of things, they are coming at it from every company, every country around the world are seeing these sort of attacks. And as I say, they don't care about your background. They will come from you, from whatever country, to try and get to your systems. And so you see, like, it'll be Chinese against Russians or Americans, and they're all over them. So it's a completely diverse mindset out there that are using these tools to attack your organizations. And that comes back to the fact that I really think we're getting better at diversity and inclusion, but people like myself need to put ourselves out there and understand people of different natures. The way I see it is birds of a feather flock together, as they say. So that's why you tend to hire people who are like you because you feel comfortable there. And we have to move outside our comfort zones. One of the things I like to use is employee resource groups, where we have groups for different ethnicities, different sexual persuasions, examples, and gender persuasions, and get involved with them, become allies of those groups. So you're not just thinking in your own mindset, but you get to understand them, understand their thinking, and make sure that when you build a workplace, you build it in such a way that these people feel that they are part of the team. They can be open with their thinking. Some ethnicities think about, I can't speak out. I don't want to be seen wrong. And if I make a mistake, how do I save face on this? And so by understanding that, if they make a mistake, you can't just call it out in your organization. You need to be able to answer, that's what happened. Maybe I find a way to safely talk about that topic. Maybe not talk about directly as a person who's made that mistake, but made about a general mistake in that sort of area, and everybody can learn from it and see it as a learning experience. So you can help people with different ways of thinking become part of your organization, but you can only do that by getting involved with those type of people who are different from you and understanding them and bringing them into your fold.
I heard you talk about phishing and spear phishing, and what I heard was it simply confirmed something that I had heard about cybersecurity before, or at least confirmed it in my mind. The weakest link in this entire process is the human at the other end of the computer. You were going to...
It has often been said that, and I like to say we change them into our strongest links by educating them and helping them, and help find out what they're doing within the organization and what is pertinent to them. So giving them the tools, information, and knowledge to be able to be a strong link in your chain. And I think that's very important for us to address awareness of security. And again, you can only do that if you understand how to communicate to those people. And you only communicate well to them if you understand their background and their ways of thinking. And that's why I think it's very important for us to put ourselves out there and make sure we are inclusive and bring more people into the fold from different ethnicities and backgrounds.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just, this is like rattling around in my brain. And so are there like people who are like defense people and people who are attack people? And when we talk about diversity, I mean, I can see a benefit of, if I'm a big organization and I'm trying to create this cybersecurity plan to defend my systems against attacks, then it would be beneficial to build relationships with people who have historically been on the attack side to understand like what triggers those attacks. The thing I think this is like the big struggle in diversity is that like, if there's defense people and there's attack people, how do we like bridge that gap to say like, okay, it was historically your job to like attack people's businesses and steal people's money, but we see that we don't want to be like that. Like our organizational culture and values or our national culture and values don't support that way of thinking, but we want to explore that so that we can defend against it better. I don't know. It's like feeling very confounded in my head. And like, it is because I get the diversity from the perspective of like different cultures and different genders and different backgrounds and different areas of expertise. And I feel like that's maybe the easier side of diversity versus like, can we bridge the gap between these two, attack and defend?
So the good guys and the bad guys. Good cops, bad cops.
Well, and I feel like, I mean, this is where I can see the benefit of like being able to communicate and build relationships with those two parties, because I know that there are parts of the world where you mentioned, right, there's no copyright. So like if I live in an area of the world where there is copyright, it's not necessarily wrong to quote unquote violate copyright if you don't have copyright laws. But if I'm like trying to defend against copyright, then how do we, maybe even just how do we start that conversation?
So in the UK, we have a thing called the Cybersecurity Challenge, which is a great opportunity for attacking people to go in and try and target the system. You also have what we call red team and blue team activities. So the red teams are trying to attack and the blue teams are trying to defend. That can be done in an ethical environment where if you've done background checks on people, you can assure that they have the right sort of background, they haven't come from the criminal background and doing that. If you've got a safe environment as a playground for people, then you can have people who came from the criminal background, who have, Kevin Mitnick is a great star of our who sadly passed away recently, but he was very famous because he got caught and then he turned into a ethical hacker and was targeting systems and people and trying to get into them. And you can bridge that gap, but you have to be conscious of, if they've got a criminal mind to start off with, do I necessarily want to expose them to my crown jewels? Possibly not. But you might want to give them a playground to see what they're capable of and make them part of the red team and the blue team defending in a safe environment. So there are ways of doing that.
Yeah. I like this concept of the red team and blue team because it doesn't feel like right and wrong. It's just like, this is what, and yeah, it's just interesting for me because I feel like from like a human perspective, I always feel like I bring the human perspective here. The reason why people might work for an attack style of organization is that they need a job. They're in like a lifestyle or a part of their life where they just need to get paid. And these companies are hiring, so I will go and work for them. And they're not necessarily bought into the mindset of, I always think of this as like people trying to steal money from my grandparents because like they're easy targets. And my grandma's always like, "Oh, I got this message." I'm like, "No, don't do anything with that." But like, I think it's because they've removed the human principle from it. And it's like, I'm in this place where like, I'm so desperate that this is what I need to do to feed my family or whatever. And so I always think if we come back to the human principles in this opening up the diverse conversation, we can start to see like, oh yeah, okay, well, that's not really something these people wanted to do. Maybe the overarching like corporate goals are problems and we don't necessarily want those people on our red teams or blue teams. But there's, maybe I'm naive, but I believe in the like goodness of humanity. And there's generally a like, besides the like hugely narcissistic people that just want to have the power, most people are good.
And that's my belief. I several beliefs I have. One is that most people are good. Second is that most people will make a decision based on the best decision they can, based on the information they have. And if they don't have the right information, they're not going to make a good decision. So that's why, again, awareness is a big subject of mine. But you also touched on the human factors, and that's one of the reasons I also think we need more diversity and inclusion within cybersecurity, because it's not just the techie side of things. And by the way, I've really seen some great women working in the techie side of things. I've seen some great women who have been ethical hackers. They're not the majority yet, but they are. I'm starting to see them being there, and I've really encouraged that. If you've got, you want to go into the STEM, and cybersecurity is a fantastic one to get into. But then you also have the human elements of it. You need that communication, and you need the business aspects of it. And that's why we need a broad way of thinking across all types of people, whether you're technical, whether you're a touchy-feely human type person, then we need that broad way of thinking.
So if it's not just the techie side, what qualifications does one need to work in cybersecurity?
There's a number of ways which you can go down. When I've been recruiting, I look more for attitude and aptitude than have they got a specific qualification. Because I've seen a lot of people who fell into this by playing, and they've got the right sort of aspirations and mindset and want to learn and do things. And it's always a changing world. So security keeps on changing every single year. There's something new to get involved with. So it's kind of, I've lost my track of thought again. Can you repeat that question? Sorry.
Well, swill. What qualifications does somebody need?
Yeah, that's where I was going. So certain qualifications that are very helpful. You can get degree courses and master's courses and doctorates, which you never used to be able to get when I started off in cybersecurity. So that's one good way of going down there. And again, within those, there are lots of different disciplines for getting into cybersecurity, whether it be down the risk and compliance route, whether it's found the hacking route, whether it's found the technology side of things and developing and coding securely. Lots of those through the university route. If you want specific to hacking, then the certified ethical hacker is a good qualification to get into the hacking mindset of it. The other organization I work with is IC Squared. They're an international organization, internationally qualified qualifications. The standard one is the CISSP, Certified Information Systems Security Professional. And again, within that, you can break out into all the different areas of security that you might be interested in. But the CISP gives you that common body of knowledge. So when you're talking to anybody who's got one, whether you're talking about physical security, whether you're talking about personal security, human security, whether it's the hacking network, by having that common body of knowledge, you can talk at a level that everybody has some common understanding. So regardless of your background, that's a great qualification to get into. If you're in the UK, the IISP is a good route. There's IASME. So there's a number of that. What I would suggest to people, if you're interested in security and you aren't looking for certification, go and Google it. You will find lots of certifications. I found one that best suits how you're thinking and what you want to, what parts of the aspect of security you want to get into.
What?
Just wanted to share what Sandy Adam had put
Really
in
useful
comments.
figures. Thank you, Sandy.
Women hold 25% of cybersecurity jobs globally in 2022, up from 20% in 2019 and around 10% in 2013. It's predicted that women will represent 30% of the global cybersecurity workforce by 2025, and that will reach 35% by 2031. So there are strides being made, it seems. But I want to go back to
where do those figures come from, Sandy? If it's possible to give us the source of that. But sorry, Rob.
I just wanted to go back to the original question I had for Andrew regarding the qualifications, and you listed a lot of great resources, but all of those sound pretty technical, and I'm really not a technical kind of guy. Marketing major, and I'm more of a social butterfly than I am a technical guru. Is cybersecurity for me?
Absolutely. As I say, we look at all the human factors aspects of it. We look at risk management aspects. There is something we can find within security that I'm sure you can be passionate about and enjoy doing.
So in terms of cybersecurity, could we enter into the market by our own aptitude, not necessarily based on qualification?
But yeah, I personally believe so.
Right.
Again, it'd be finding the right organization that fits your way of thinking and what you want to do. And I'd start by doing things like blogging about what your interests are in cybersecurity, trying to get noticed for what you bring to the table, kind of thing.
Okay.
And that'll be a way of getting in there and be a doer and show what you can do. I've always looked at CVs and said, okay, you've got the tick the boxes, but show me what you can do. I'm more interested than that. How do you think? How can you perform? How can you solve the problems that I'm looking to address? That's really what I'm looking for when somebody comes into this.
Because we've had a couple of comments, Andrew, about people are saying, how do we get into cybersecurity? So would you be saying that what you're looking for is someone to talk, even if they don't know about cybersecurity, that they write a blog that they're passionate about it?
Absolutely. This is the thing. As I said before, people make decisions with the information they have. If you're going out there and starting off in security, get over the fear of being wrong, because that's when you're wrong, you find out what's right. People will quickly tell you. But it can be very challenging to an individual to just put themselves out there and be wrong. But that's how you will learn best. Put yourself out there, get a blog out there, listen to the feedback, and incorporate that into your next part of the iteration of the blog. You'll learn, and other people will also learn on the journey. But don't hide your light under a bushel. You need to be able to show people, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I'm interested in. And by doing that, you just keep on progressing and getting better.
And I think too, like from the personal branding side of things, if you're interested in cybersecurity, there's probably a reason, like there's something that's intriguing for you about cybersecurity. So what is that? It's probably a corner, but like Rob, I'm a marketer, right? But the marketers have a unique perspective on cybersecurity. And so if whoever you are and whatever background you have a unique perspective. And a unique perspective doesn't mean that you know everything. But if you can show up and start creating those conversations, people who have knowledge, like this was so exciting. Again, as Alex mentioned last week, we had Legal on, and he knows many things about AI that like I don't know. And I had him on my show, and he is teaching me things, and I don't have to be the expert in everything he's an expert in. He gets to be that, and I can play my role. So just get a little bit curious. What is it about cybersecurity that interests you, that intrigues you, and start talking about those pieces of it.
Yeah, marketing is a brilliant place to be, and it has a unique aspect of cybersecurity because before you launch a brand or product or a new way of working, you got to tell the world all about it. Before that launch, that information is very proprietary to the company, and you don't want everybody knowing about it. And so you need a security person to say, right, this is how you can do this safely. But once you've launched it, everybody knows about it. So you, at that point in time, what you're more worried about is the integrity and the availability of it. You don't want people messing about with your message. You want that message to get out there and be the right one. So, and that's happened to parties of political parties like the Conservatives and the Labour Party. You can look at some of their old pages, and they've been hacked at some point and changed. So yeah, marketing, I think, has got a very unique aspect to it in that your information is so highly prized, and then suddenly it's out there. But once it's out there, so you need to make sure it stays out there in the right format and people get the right message and it's not messed with.
Yeah. It makes me think of like all of those security protocols that went into keeping the Harry Potter books under wraps.
Exactly.
Because the book is written, but it's not out to the public yet. And yeah.
And I think that's it for anybody who's interested in getting into security is what's your niche? What is it that sparks your interest? And for me, it was being told you can't do that. It's just like, yeah, okay, let me just try and prove. If you tell me I can't do something, I have to then say, can I actually do it? Can I prove it? And I got into it in the very early days, and I just kind of stumbled into it because the government department I was working for had a keyboard, like a credit card reader, and the credit card reader was your identity. You put your card in, and that would then authenticate you as part of your system, and you put a password with it. And we had a test system where they couldn't simulate that card going in. And Bill Gates said, if you want something doing quickly, ask a lazy person. They find the fast way to do it, get it out of the way. And I basically edited the data files to insert the card number without any pauses in it. And it bypassed that security. You're not supposed to simulate that card. Well, I've done it. And that kind of, oh, right, that was a security weakness. That then did, it's security. That's interesting. And that kind of sparked it off for me. You know, making things do things that they shouldn't be able to do.
And you talked earlier on about, so going back to the discussion about diversity and inclusion, you talked about allyship and the fact that we should be allies. Here we are, you know, we're 5 white people. I'm white male, I'm middle class, middle aged. What do you think that we could be doing more to support and be allies to actually get more diversity and inclusion into cybersecurity and business as a whole?
So for me, the first thing is start being with people not like you. Hang around with people who do not think the same way as you, do not look the same way as you, are culturally different from you. A lot of organizations are looking for diversity and inclusion now across the board, not just within cybersecurity. You see the groups that are set up to allow those people to network within those organizations. We need to be involved with them. We need to show up as who we are, with open minds, open hearts, listening to them and getting involved. Understanding brings forgiveness is a French saying. And you can't understand unless you get out there and be involved. Support these people, get involved with the LGBTQ plus community. Understand. I was at one organization, and there was a gay fella there, and he was a really nice person. And it was bring your kids to school to work day. And I brought my kids with me, and he said, "Oh, can I take them off for ice cream?" Yeah, no problem. Go ahead. Not a problem to me. And somebody comes up and says, he's gay. Yeah. But that was fear that was driving that conversation.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that fear was ignorance. If you don't hang out with these people, you will remain fearful and ignorant. So you have to get involved with them. Just on another story with that person is one day I had my headphones in and I was listening to some music. He came up to me and he said, "What are you listening to?" And I went, "Queen." And he just went, "No need to be personal." Absolutely lovely guy, and he was so much fun. But you have to get to understand the other ways of thinking. These other people, get involved, put yourself out there, be an ally, be supportive. Be open to conversations and bringing them in. Listen to their ways of thinking. Listen to their thoughts. Listen to their challenges and their problems. help them be part of the community and build that community of inclusion. And whilst those separate parts of these employees resource groups are there to help those individual communities grow and have a safe place to chat. We might be respectful. That is a safe place to chat. Join in, but join in that spirit of openness, open-heartedness, listening and understanding. That's the way to do it.
Andrew, you mentioned fear as part of that, as a limiting factor for diversity. And do you think that this is specifically a problem in arenas like cybersecurity, which are kind of like not an industry created on fear, but it's an industry that's meant to like defend against things? So if we have mindsets like a business mindset of it's my job to defend against things, then does that kind of trickle into our relationship lives that convinces me I have to defend myself against other people instead of allowing for that openness?
I'm glad you've asked that, because I hadn't thought of it like that. But there is that. We are defenders of the crown jewels. We're defenders of the organisation. We're reducing that text. And there is a fear, as you say, about what's in there is possibly part of that basic psyche of us. What's different can be threatening. So, yeah, I think that something that could be there. I hadn't thought about it like that before, but yeah, we are there with that zero tolerance, zero trust aspect of where we implement cybersecurity in some respects. And if there's zero trust, how do you then build trust from there? And I've always seen that as like a philosophy within cybersecurity, but it's not something you can actually practical, because if you had zero trust, you couldn't do anything.
Right.
So you then have to say, okay, we start from that principle of we don't trust anything, we fear everything that's outside it, kind of thing, and then start opening it up. But the only way you can start opening it up is by understanding and learning, and then starting to trust that works the way it's supposed to work. And I think that's part of my saying, how I was saying, you need to get involved. You may not trust people from a different background to you, and a different. I was in New York, and I went into Harlem, and I felt a little bit fearful at first, but because I don't know the area that well, it's completely strange environment. But I went out, and lovely place, not a problem. It is you have to overcome that challenge of the fear in yourself. Who's that said feel the fear and do it anyway? Fear, false evidence appearing real, is one way of looking at it. And another thing is, if fear can be a warning, something could go wrong. If it does go wrong, what could go wrong? Work out what could go wrong, and can you handle it? If you can handle it, then there's nothing to fear.
Great call out, Tracy. And that's why we need marketing in cybersecurity. Marketing understands the target audience. So how can we do more to encourage people of all backgrounds to work in cybersecurity?
I think we have to champion the cause of cybersecurity. We have to bring those people on to talks like this. I'm sorry Jane couldn't make it today, but bringing people of other backgrounds into this conversation, having them tell their story alongside us, how they found it, encouraging people from their backgrounds to come and join us as well. That is something I think it's a journey we can both go on together. Bring people, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different ways of thinking, have them start talking about this alongside us. And I think we do need to be alongside and not separate. We can't have one community just talking about the subject on their own. We need them to be seen that we can work together, we can build together, and we can go out to the world and tell them about our stories together.
And Andrew, one of the things that we talked about earlier on was about deep fakes.
Yes.
And there's certainly this area where AI and cybersecurity are kind of, I didn't attend that particular digital download, but, the discussion in AI about deep fakes. There's a famous US presidential candidate who had her emails hacked. So it doesn't matter where you are into society, you're being targeted. Do you think as individuals, we actually need to get to understand and realize, we're having to understand about phishing. I mean, phishing, what, 20 years? I think we've been, or 25 years, there's phishing emails have been sent out. And usually what we realize, if something's too good to be true, then it is. But we're going to actually need to understand more and more about deepfakes. I mean, Martin Lewis, Elon Musk. For the people that don't know, Martin Lewis is the person in the UK who says that he's not paid by anybody, but he tells you that you need to get this credit card because it's got the best deal on it and stuff like that. The fact that he's being deepfaked and is giving advice, people need to understand even more and realize that there are bad actors out there who actually want to steal your money.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Sorry?
Long question. Sorry.
Long question. Yes. I think there's two aspects to this. One is the technology side of this, and being able to detect something that's being a deep fake and highlight people to it and talk about where the source of that has come from. Intel have got their deep fake detector, which is trying to battle with these AIs that are generating the deep fakes. So you've got to they're generating them. Intel's trying to discriminate against them, and the technology aspect can help to some extent. But I think definitely the awareness and letting people know that these exist, what they look like, how to spot them, and to protect themselves. You put those two together, and you should have a fairly good defense in depth between them. Get the technology right, get the awareness right. And I actually use these as opportunities for helping people to become interested in security, because it makes it really important to them. What I'm always looking for when I'm pressing these messages out is what's in it for the person who's listening to this. And if I can help them be safe and secure in their home environments, then they are going to bring that knowledge and attitude to work environments as well. So make sure that people are aware of them, what they look like, how to spot them. And as you say, if something looks too good to be true, it probably is. But when you get that phone call where the voice of your daughter comes through saying, I'm stuck here, I need some money, I need to transfer quickly. Yeah, that kind of gets to you, and you've got to be ready to see that, be able to say, is this really my daughter or is this somebody else trying to think? And that is scary that we have to think like that. It brings that fear back into us. What is different could be painful to us. So education and awareness is going to help break down some of those barriers. Well, what I've seen is on that Martin Lewis one, the island of Jersey, £300,000 worth of money was actually taken from the islanders, according to the police in the area. So it's very effective what they're doing, and we do need to be ready for it.
Is cybersecurity always a game of catch-up?
Yes and no. We can be proactive if we use things like bug bounty programs, using ethical hackers to attack our systems. They can find the vulnerabilities hopefully before the genuine criminals do attack it through those mechanisms. Often I've seen it, get the basics right. Sometimes I see default passwords are still on systems that they haven't been changed. So getting the basics right, doing those bug bounty programs, working with the researchers to find new ways of attacking systems, that can help do there. But there will always be those zero exploits that constantly appear in the wild, and then we're playing catch up. So if you think about it, we are in the news every day, but businesses around the world generally are still operating, still making profits, and still generating revenue and working. So on a day-to-day basis, the job is pretty good, but there will always be that chink in the armor that someone will find, and that's when you're playing catch up. If you think about some of the attacks that happened, where what was the company? ServiceNow got broken into, and then they were looking at that led to a chain of attacks coming through there. Once it was identified, everybody worked together to then patch and fix that system. Sandy's very active today. Legions of DEFCON hackers will attack generative AI models. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'd say it's not that we're always playing catch up, but sometimes we do have to play catch up. Maintain that proactivity.
One of the things that we get a lot of around our way is cars being stolen, because you can buy something on Amazon that basically detects the infrared keys. As we become more and more reliant on cyber computers and stuff like that, I'm guessing we're going to actually need to understand, we tend to think of hacking as in phishing, as in computers and email and stuff, but actually there's a lot of computing power in a mobile phone or in a car. Are we going to start needing to look at the way that we look at when we buy a car? It's not just about having an alarm on it, it's about having what ability of cybersecurity are we going to need on it?
Absolutely. What we're seeing now is really the cars are more computers on wheels with an engine. So it's like the technology's in there. We're getting drone deliveries now. We're going to see taxis that are driverless. That's going to be coming down the future. They're looking at street furniture, which have been altered by hackers. So when it's in a 30 zone, the car thinks it's in a 50 zone. There's all sorts of these things that are happening. And so that's one of the reasons why this industry is such an interesting one to get into, because every aspect of it is like, you look at medical devices, extremely sensitive and need to be strongly protected. The new vehicles, so much computing power in them, the drone technologies that you're getting around, automated deliveries, so many opportunities and different ways of looking at it, that it comes back to this. We need this diversity of thinking because there is so many different aspects of it to get involved with.
Well, we have a question from
I like that. I love that question.
Is it worth attacking anything if there's no payoff? Do attackers behave rationally or irrationally? Is there any case studies exploring this question?
I would have to look into the case studies aspects of it, but there are several reasons why motivations for people attacking systems. Financial is the big one for criminals, and often for government-backed organizations where they're trying to take down another country's infrastructure and extort money from them to fund their operations. We talk about asymmetric warfare in cybersecurity. Somebody with a laptop could start having a go against somebody who's got a multi-million-pound computer system. So there is that, or there's a payoff in that respect. Some of them, the hacktivists, they want to get a message out there. Just Stop Oil would be a typical sort of threat actor who might want to deface a website and put Just Stop Oil notices all over it. So they have a different motivation. Then you've got governments who may want to, in warfare times, take down an organization. We saw in Ukraine, the satellites were being attacked and taken down to take away military, and then the collateral damage hits Germany. So money is often the main motivation, but there are other reasons for it.
I saw an interesting one yesterday or the day before. I actually shared the video with my family, where an artist had loaded a number of cell phones into a little red wagon and walked down this street with all of these cell phones, while all of these cell phones were connected to Google Maps. And suddenly Google Maps thought there was tremendous traffic on this street, when really it was just one man with a little red wagon and was diverting cars to other locations. Now, his point was to simply bring attention to how much we rely on computers and information and so on. So there was no financial payoff for him, but the attention that he garnered, this was 2 or 3 years ago, and the video itself has had over 1 million views. He got his payoff in terms of the attention he was trying to draw to his cause. So you mentioned the term hackivists. I think that's an example of exactly that.
Yeah. The 2600 group, you'll find they're some of the very early days of how phone freaking it was then. And they were just basically trying to see what they could do. They found in a box of cereal a whistle from Captain Crunch, which if you blew that whistle would allow them to make free phone calls. So it's a lot. Sometimes it's just people tinkering and finding out what they can do. A lot of young people getting into this are of the mindset, what can I do? How can I play with this? They're not actually out to do real damage, but they can cause damage in their learning and trying things out and experimenting.
Andrew, I have a question about like individual people. So I work in the personal branding arena, and there's a lot of, when we hear about these kind of deep fakes on these like pretty big names, a lot of people then have a fear of like, well, I don't want to show up on video on social media because someone can just steal that and then deep fake me and like hurt my family or whatever. Is there anything we can do like for platforms, like if we're active on LinkedIn, do we like trust that the platform is going to be secure, or are there things that we can do to proactively keep ourselves secure in that digital presence?
So I think there has to be an element of realism in this. If you are Beyonce, if you're Martin Lewis, if you're Obama, you're people who are likely to have this happen to you. So they should have more people looking to protect their image and reputation, brand reputation online. For most people, there's like 7 billion people on the planet. Actually, heading towards 8 billion people now. Picking one individual off of that, what's the motivation? How much could they get out of it? When you look at what the criminal activities are, when they actually tried to get into somebody's account and got access to their account, and when they realized there was no money in it, they went, oh, damn, put the phone down, went on to the next person target. So if they can't monetize your image for a realistic amount of money, then they're going to go elsewhere. If they can take your image and get some money and maybe use your image to attack your parents, then yes, there's a reason that they might want to do that. So again, this comes back to awareness, making sure that people know, would that person actually do what they're saying? Are they really in that serious debt, that amount of debt that they need money right now? Can it wait for a couple of hours? Because when we're doing brute forcing of passwords, we tend to say after 5 passwords, block the system. And then for a few minutes, and then they come up, and it means that people can't get it. Similar to ourselves. If your daughter is asking you for money on the phone, and you're just a bit surprised by this, you put it off for a couple of hours. If you can't make immediate contact back with your daughter, you go, right, I'll come back to it in a couple of hours and try contact them again, because they will create a sense of urgency around getting that money right now. So that's nothing to stop any account. I see lots of accounts on Facebook being cloned. Lots of my friends, it happens to them. And again, they're trying to get you to click that link. By making people aware that this is a capability, that people don't normally behave in that manner. I've often seen a message pops up from somebody who's been cloned, and it's got a link to a video or something, and it's like, don't click the link. That was not normal behavior for that person. So I think the biggest one is education, awareness. Tell people about it, get the message out there.
Andrew, this has been a great conversation. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
if
Andrew.
People wanted to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
The easiest way is probably find me on LinkedIn, Andrew David Rice. Failing that, andrew.rice@orange.fr.
Awesome.
That's probably one of the simplest email addresses I can think of for me.
To our panelists, thank you. To our audience, thank you very much. This has been a great show. If you are interested in appearing on the digital download, if you have something to say, scan the QR code, fill out the application. We would love to host you sometime as well. For myself, Rob Durant, for the rest of the panelists, for our guest, Andrew, this has been another episode of The Digital Download, the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live. I want to thank everyone for being a part of it today, and we'll see you again next week.
Have a great
Thanks,
weekend.
Thanks,